I get a lot of questions about camera settings from Nightscape photographers who are just starting out. They see an image I've posted and they want to know what I shot it at. And that used to be me. I was just looking for some guidance for somewhere to start. But instead of just answering questions like that and telling you, hey, this is what I shot it at, I want to go over some of the basics. Because every night you go out, every sky that you shoot, every camera is different. And what works for me won't always work for you. But if you understand how to figure out the settings, then you can get out there and capture some amazing images. I'm Christopher Neal, and I've been a hobbyist photographer for over 30 years, but in the past decade, I've kind of taken things to a new level. I decided I wanted to capture the night sky, and I'm going to share some of the knowledge that I've worked really hard to gain here. I'm going to start with equipment. I'm not really going to get into specifics. I don't have gear recommendations here. I may do that later on. But at the very least, you need a decent DSLR or mirrorless camera and a wide angle lens, think 14 to 24 millimeters, a good ball head, and a tripod. Full frame is preferred, but I'll be honest, some of the newer mirrorless crop sensors have really got some powerful sensors in them and can get the job done. They're a lot better than what we had a decade or so ago. Now, I don't want you to get the feeling that if you don't have a full frame camera, if you don't have top of the line gear, you can't go out. There's no reason for even doing it. Go, shoot, enjoy yourself, and then start thinking about how you can work on upgrading your equipment. Milky Way photography is about the reps. You can watch all the videos you want, but until you go out there and actually start capturing images, you won't see anything near the results that you're looking for. Now, for the basic settings, make sure you're shooting in RAW. JPEG can limit your ability to edit images afterwards and kind of locks you into one profile. With RAW, sky's the limit. You need to be in manual mode, not only for exposure, but also for focus. Your autofocus won't work, so don't even try it. I'll explain how to get sharp focus in a moment. Get that long exposure noise reduction set to off. It may seem like a good idea, but it'll ultimately slow you down. Auto ISO, turn it off. You need to have total control of your camera. This is where the rubber meets the road as a photographer. If you got a pop-up flash, make sure you set that thing to off. That flash will ruin not only your image, but may ruin the image of one of the photographers around you. Now let's dive into the exposure settings. First is easiest. Set your aperture to wide open, whatever your lens allows. The more light you let get in, the better. For shutter speed, we're going to use a rule of 500. You're going to divide 500 by your focal length to get your maximum exposure time before the stars will start to trail. Say for a 20 millimeter lens, it's going to be about 25 seconds. Now that's the max. It's not where you want to start. What I would usually recommend is starting about halfway. For a 25 second max, I'll begin with a 13-second exposure. Lastly is ISO. Since you're shooting in low light, you're going to need a higher ISO to increase the gain on that sensor. I always see my ISO as a wild card, since it's the most variable here. You don't need to mess with your aperture. You've got a limit on your shutter speed, but ISO you can go as high or low as you feel like it. The more you shoot, you're going to start to kind of develop a feel for it. If there's a lot of ambient light, you're going to start lower, around 1600. If it's a really, really dark spot, you may start as high as 6400. Ultimately, you're going to need to make sure that you're checking your camera's histogram, and we're going to ETTR, exposed to the right. That way you won't clip the blacks, lose detail in that image. Don't get too caught up in the details of exposure when you're first starting out. You don't have to be perfect. I've often added a couple of stops of exposure in editing because I was a little bit underexposed. It's no problem. Heck, last year I accidentally captured an image at 400 that should have been at 3200, but I was using a Nikon Z6 II, which is ISO invariant, meaning it really doesn't matter to the camera what ISO you're shooting at. So I was able to push it up 3 stops or maybe 3.5 stops in post-processing, and you couldn't tell the difference between that image and an image that I shot right after it that was at the right ISO. Now, for sharp focus, there's a trick. You're going to use live view on the back of your camera. You're going to find a bright object, a star, planet, a street light, something small and bright. You're going to put that in the center and zoom all the way in. Now reach out and rotate that focus ring until the light is the smallest that it can possibly be and the fewest pixels you can get. If you've got a loop or a little magnifier, that can often help you achieve that tight focus. Focus indicator should be close to infinity, but the lenses are not going to be perfect, so I would not rely on that. Remember to focus every time you pick up your camera and move it around. It's easy to get that camera bumped, to get that lens bumped. You don't want to sit there and shoot for 2 or 3 hours thinking things are perfect, and you get home, half or more of your shots are out of focus. There's a reason that I say this. I've done it. It's no fun. The key to great nightscape photography is practice and patience. It's okay if those first few shots you take or first few trips that you make aren't perfect. Each attempt will bring you closer to capturing that stunning, dreamlike Milky Way that you want. Don't hesitate to experiment with different settings, compositions, and techniques. Find what works best for you. You will develop your own personal style and workflow, both in the field and during editing. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate the opportunity to share what I've learned. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. If you've got any questions or want to share experience with Milky Way photography, feel free to drop a comment below. I love hearing from you, and I'm here to help. Until next time, clear skies and happy shooting.